Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise and get straight to the essential insights from complex topics. Today, we're plunging into a phenomenon that has truly reshaped our understanding of money: Bitcoin.
That's right. For this deep dive, we've pulled together, an expensive stack of analyses, research papers, and reports on Bitcoin. We're covering its fascinating history, the underlying technology, the economic implications, and its global adoption. Our mission today is to truly unpack this digital currency, to understand what it is, how it works, why it matters to you, and what its future might hold. All explained in clear, digestible terms. We'll be your guides, pointing out the most important nuggets of knowledge and maybe some truly surprising facts along the way.
So when we talk about Bitcoin, it wasn't just invented out of thin air, was it? What core problem was it specifically designed to solve? What was the big issue in the traditional financial system that its creator, Satoshi Nakamoto, was, looking to fix?
That's a fantastic starting point. At its core, Bitcoin was designed to tackle a monumental issue: the pervasive problem of trust and control in our existing financial system. Think about it. Every time you send money digitally today, whether it's paying a bill or wiring funds internationally, you're almost always relying on a bank,
Right.
Or a credit card company or a payment processor, essentially, a trusted third party.
Right, these intermediaries.
Yeah.
And while they seem convenient, they come with a set of issues, don't they?
Precisely. These middlemen often bring downsides, like significant transaction costs, especially for international transfers. They can impose restrictions on how much or when you can transfer money. And crucially, they hold the power to censor, freeze, or even reverse your transactions if they choose to. Satoshi Nakamoto saw this as a kind of single point of failure and control. The technical challenge addressed was what's called the double spending problem for digital assets. How do you ensure that when you send digital money, you're not secretly keeping a copy to spend again? And how do you do that without needing a central bank or institution to verify every single transaction? Bitcoin offered a revolutionary solution.
So it really boils down to removing that central middleman and the inherent vulnerabilities and, I guess, power imbalances that come with them. That sounds incredibly ambitious.
It absolutely is. The main goal was to create a decentralized digital alternative to traditional money, something that could operate without relying on any single entity. To grasp this, let's use a simple analogy. Imagine you and everyone in your neighborhood decide to keep a communal, transparent ledger, like a big notebook, where every single transaction that happens in your community is meticulously written down.
Okay, a shared notebook, so everyone has access to see all the transactions.
Exactly. Instead of trusting one person, like a bank's accountant, to manage this notebook, everyone has their own identical copy. Now, when someone wants to add a new page, let's say a new set of transactions, they first have to solve a really tricky computational puzzle. That's like a complex Sudoku that takes a lot of effort, a lot of computer power. The first person in the community to solve that puzzle gets to add their page of new transactions to the communal notebook. And crucially, everyone else checks their work to make sure it's valid. Once that page is added, it's sealed and linked to the previous page, making it practically impossible to erase or change without everyone noticing.
Wow, that's a brilliant way to ensure transparency and security without needing some central authority.
So this notebook, this is what we call the blockchain, right?
You've got it. That notebook is the blockchain. Bitcoin's primary aim was to enable peer-to-peer electronic payments, meaning you can send value directly to anyone, anywhere in the world, at any time, without needing a bank or any other intermediary. But what's truly fascinating here is how its primary role has kind of evolved. While it started with the vision of electronic cash for everyday transactions, over time, its main narrative has significantly shifted. It's shifted towards digital gold, a reliable, scarce place to store value, maybe a hedge against inflation.
Digital gold.
Yeah, but the original cash idea is definitely not dead. It's just being explored and implemented in different innovative ways within its broader ecosystem. That evolution from digital cash to digital gold is a huge concept. We should definitely come back to that. But first, let's dig into the mechanics. That analogy makes a lot of sense. But how does the digital notebook actually work in practice? Could you walk us through the basic foundational steps?
Okay, let's unpack this with a bit more detail. Bitcoin operates on a few key interconnected pieces. At its core is the blockchain. It's literally a chain of blocks, which are like the pages in our digital notebook, each holding a batch of transaction data. Each block contains roughly 1 megabyte of transactions, and it's added to the chain on average every 10 minutes.
Every 10 minutes. Okay. So new pages are constantly being added to this global distributed ledger. What happens when I send Bitcoin? Is it like a bank debiting my account?
Not quite, and this is where it differs significantly from traditional banking. Bitcoin doesn't use account balances in the same way. Instead, when you send Bitcoin, you're essentially creating an unspent transaction output, or UTXO. Think of your traditional bank account as one big bucket of money. Bitcoin is different. It's more like having a wallet full of individual physical banknotes of various denominations, each with a unique serial number almost. Each note you receive that hasn't been spent yet is a UTXO. When you want to pay someone, you spend those specific notes, and if there's change, you get new notes back from the network. It ensures every piece of Bitcoin can only be spent once.
Oh, okay. Like using a $20 bill for a $5 purchase and getting a $10 and a $5 back. Those are new notes for me.
Got it.
And who adds these pages of transactions to the blockchain? Who does the work?
That's where miners and proof of work, POW, come in. These are our super fast accountants, or maybe more accurately, powerful computers all around the world. And they're competing intensely. They all race to solve a complex cryptographic puzzle. The first miner to find the solution gets to gather the latest batch of verified transactions, bundle them into a new block, and add that block to the blockchain. As a reward for their work, they earn newly created Bitcoin plus transaction fees. This computationally intensive process is called proof of work.
Proof of work. And how does that make the network secure? What stops someone from just adding a fake transaction or changing an old one?
That's the genius of the POW mechanism. To cheat or change a past transaction, someone would need to redo all that computational work. Not just for one block, but for every single block after it in the chain. And they'd have to do it faster than all the legitimate miners combined. This would require controlling over 51% of the entire network's computational power, what we call a 51% attack.
51% attack. That sounds bad.
It would be, theoretically. It could allow them to maybe reverse recent transactions, like double spending their own coins, or even temporarily censor certain transactions. However, for Bitcoin, the sheer scale of computing power involved makes this practically impossible and astronomically expensive. The economic incentive to play by the rules and earn those Bitcoin rewards far, far outweighs the immense cost and effort required to attack it. It just doesn't make sense financially.
Okay, so it's slow and steady, maybe, with a new block every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But incredibly secure because of this massive global effort and the economic incentives. And you mentioned scarcity earlier. That sounds key. How does that factor into the design?
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting and where a truly surprising fact lies, I think. Bitcoin has a fixed maximum supply of 21 million coins. Period. Full stop. No more will ever be created. This isn't just a technical detail. It's like a radical departure from millennia of state-controlled money. Imagine a gold mine with a pre-programmed, unchangeable limit. And imagine that every 4 years, the rate at which you can discover new gold in that mine gets cut in half, automatically.
Wow.
That's precisely what happens with Bitcoin. Every 4 years, or more accurately, every 210,000 blocks, the reward miners get for adding a block is halved. This process is known as halving. This makes Bitcoin progressively scarcer over time, making it fundamentally deflationary in the long run. It's arguably the most verifiably scarce asset humanity has ever created. It's programmed right into its very DNA, unlike any national currency.
Wait, so this halving is literally hard-coded. You can't just change it. That's an incredible mechanism for scarcity that's completely alien to how we manage traditional money. It's almost like a self-regulating economic timer. It certainly sounds like a deeply secure and scarce system.
Exactly. Those are core properties.
Now, for someone just learning about this, maybe listening at home, what are the practical, real-world benefits? Why should a regular person care about Bitcoin beyond the technical marvel? What does this all mean for them?
That's a really important question for everyone listening. The benefits for you can be quite profound, especially when you start thinking about financial control and personal freedom. First, there's protection against inflation. With its fixed supply and that predictable halving schedule we talked about, Bitcoin is frequently called digital gold. It's increasingly seen as a potential hedge against inflation, a way to maybe preserve your savings when traditional currencies might be losing purchasing power due to, well, central banks printing more money. While gold has been the traditional hedge for centuries, Bitcoin offers a similar but digitally native alternative.
Okay, so a potential store of value like digital gold. Makes sense. What else?
Then there's global, borderless payments. You can send value anywhere in the world, any time of day or night, without worrying about bank holidays, time zones, or those often exorbitant international transfer fees. This is huge for cross-border businesses, for sending money home, remittances, or for people living in countries with unstable economies who need a reliable way to move or receive funds.
So no more waiting days for international transfers or losing a big chunk to fees. That's massive for many people.
Absolutely. And alongside that is financial freedom and censorship resistance. Because there's no central authority, no government or bank can stop you from sending or receiving Bitcoin, nor can they arbitrarily seize your funds, provided, and this is crucial, provided you control your own private keys. This offers a powerful level of financial sovereignty. It puts you in complete control of your wealth. That's a truly revolutionary concept for many.
Being your own bank, essentially.
In a way, yes. And while the main Bitcoin blockchain can be slower, as we said, innovative solutions built on top of it, like the Lightning Network, are changing the game. They allow for instant and very, very cheap micropayments. This means you potentially can use Bitcoin for smaller, everyday transactions like buying coffee, tipping someone online, or paying for online gaming much faster and cheaper than trying to do it on the main network. This addresses some of those earlier electronic cash goals.
Right, that's an important distinction. The main network for security, this Lightning Network for speed and small payments. And it seems like Bitcoin is becoming more integrated into the global economy, doesn't it? Beyond just tech enthusiasts.
It certainly is. We're seeing growing acceptance across the board. Countries like El Salvador have actually made Bitcoin legal tender. Big companies and institutions, giants like MicroStrategy and major investment firms like BlackRock, they're not just tolerating it anymore. They're actively holding Bitcoin in their reserves or creating investment products around it. That signals its growing legitimacy as a serious asset class. And today, estimates suggest over 100 million people worldwide own some Bitcoin, a figure that continues to grow pretty rapidly.
Okay, that certainly sounds powerful in theory, offering a lot of promise for financial empowerment. But nothing is without its downsides, right? What are the main risks or criticisms that a discerning listener or even a casual investor should be acutely aware of?
That's a crucial point to address for a balanced perspective. While Bitcoin boasts robust strengths, it absolutely faces significant challenges and criticisms that are vital to understand. One of the most immediate concerns for many is price volatility. What's important to grasp here is that Bitcoin's price is known for dramatic swings. I mean, really dramatic. It can go up or down by significant percentages in very short periods, sometimes 10–20% in a single day or even more. While this offers the potential for high returns for some people, it also makes it a very risky asset, especially for short-term investors. And it makes it challenging to use as a stable currency for everyday purchases, particularly if you're on a tight budget. This volatility is partly because it's still a relatively young developing asset class compared to, say, gold or stocks.
Right, so it's definitely not a set it and forget it asset for the faint of heart. Got it. What about the environmental concerns we often hear about, the energy usage?
Yeah, that ties into the energy consumption criticism. The proof-of-work mining process, as we discussed, is very energy intensive. It's often compared to the electricity usage of entire small countries. This has indeed led to significant environmental concerns and a lot of criticism. However, it's also worth noting, and this is often missed, that a substantial and growing portion of Bitcoin mining increasingly utilizes renewable energy sources. Miners are often incentivized to find the cheapest power, which is sometimes stranded or otherwise unused green energy, like hydro or flared gas. And innovators are constantly working to improve its efficiency and sustainability. It's a complex picture.
Okay, so an ongoing issue, but maybe with some nuance there.
Yeah.
What else?
Then there are scalability limitations. The main Bitcoin network, the blockchain itself, is designed for maximum security and decentralization, not speed. It can only process about, say, 7 transactions per second globally. That's tiny compared to Visa or MasterCard. This can lead to higher transaction fees and delays during times of peak demand. This is precisely why those Layer 2 solutions, like the Lightning Network we mentioned, are so vital. They aim to provide that everyday transaction speed without compromising the main network's core security.
So the core chain is like a super secure vault, slow and steady, but if you want to quickly move small amounts, you use another faster layer built on top.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. Another potential concern, though debated, is the potential centralization of mining. While the network itself is decentralized globally, with nodes everywhere, a relatively small number of large mining pools currently control a significant portion of the total computing power.
Goals, like groups of miners working together.
Yes, exactly. Theoretically, if these few large pools colluded or maybe were pressured by governments, they could collectively gain over 51% control. However, the individual miners within these pools are geographically distributed and independent. They can easily switch pools if they perceive any malicious activity or censorship. This distributed nature of the actual miners makes a sustained 51% attack highly unlikely in practice. Again, the economic incentive is generally to act honestly.
Okay, so a theoretical risk, but maybe less likely in reality due to incentives.
Right. Looking further ahead, maybe into the more distant future, there's the quantum computing threat. This is the idea that eventually, potentially the 2030s or later, nobody knows for sure, powerful quantum computers could theoretically break some of Bitcoin's underlying cryptography. Specifically, the type of encryption used for public keys, particularly for funds stored on older addresses where those keys might be exposed on the blockchain.
Wow, quantum computers breaking Bitcoin, that sounds serious.
It's a serious long-term challenge, yes. But it's important to note that Bitcoin developers are already actively researching and working on quantum-resistant cryptographic solutions. Just like developers are for banking systems, military communications, everything's secure. It's a race against time across the board, but one where the community is aware and actively innovating.
Okay, so not an immediate threat, but something the community is proactively tackling. That's reassuring.
Precisely. Then there's a more practical barrier: complexity for users. Being your own bank, as we discussed, comes with immense power, but also immense responsibility. If you lose your private keys, those secret codes that control your Bitcoin, you lose your Bitcoin forever. There's absolutely no customer service to call, no forgot password link. The steep learning curve for securing your own funds, what's called self-custody, can be a significant barrier for new, less technical users.
Right. Responsibility is key.
Absolutely. And finally, there's regulatory uncertainty. While many countries are starting to create clearer rules for digital assets, the global regulatory landscape is still very fragmented and constantly evolving. Sudden bans or stricter rules in major economies, like China's past ban on mining and trading, can significantly impact Bitcoin's price, its liquidity, and broader adoption. It's a constant balancing act between this permissionless innovation and governments trying to establish regulatory frameworks. So what does all of this mean for you, the listener? Bitcoin is a groundbreaking decentralized digital currency. It has steadily evolved from an experimental electronic cash system into what many now see as a robust digital gold. Its core strengths really lie in its absolute verifiable scarcity, its unparalleled security derived from proof of work, and its resistance to censorship. It provides a powerful tool for financial sovereignty, even as it navigates these significant challenges like price volatility, scalability debates, and the ongoing need for user education and regulatory clarity.
It definitely sounds like a deeply fascinating and complex system, offering a unique, almost radical vision for money and trust in the digital age. This deep dive into Bitcoin has certainly given us a lot to think about, hasn't it? Stretching our minds around new paradigms for finance. It's clear this isn't just about a digital coin, it's about a fundamental shift in how we think about money, trust, and maybe our financial future.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Bitcoin's slow, conservative evolution, which some might criticize as a weakness, it doesn't change fast enough, that might be precisely what underpins its greatest strength. Its unparalleled reliability and anti-fragility over more than 15 years now. This deliberate, security-first approach allows it to serve as an immutable, incredibly secure foundation upon which more innovative and faster solutions like the Lightning Network can be safely built.
That's a really interesting perspective. The slow pace is the feature. And that brings us to a provocative thought for you, our listeners, to mull over. If Bitcoin continues to solidify its role as digital gold, a stable, unchangeable bedrock for value that isn't controlled by any single entity, how might that fundamentally reshape the way we view national currencies and the very concept of money in the next few decades? Could its slow, deliberate, almost boringly predictable path actually be the fastest route to a truly global, decentralized financial system, offering a new kind of economic independence for people everywhere? Something to think about. This is a great point to quickly pause and remind our listeners of something.
That's right. If you're enjoying how we break down these complex projects into simple pieces and want more reviews just like this, make sure you subscribe to our channel, CryptoBox. We do all the complex research so you don't have to.